Alright, this 6-star featured crystal is a weird one because this is the first crystal where every single featured champion is available as a 7-star character. So the criteria does change a little bit because now you want to see who really wants their awakened ability, because if they really want it, then you are better off targeting the 6-star version of them. However, some of these champions don't need it, so that makes them less valuable to target and it lowers their ranking a little bit in this list. So yeah, here are the criterias. How good is a champion, and both offense and defense will be factored here, but also how badly do they need their dupe. Every featured champion, like I said, is a 7-star in this crystal, which means which are actually worth targeting and which do you just want to save for because they are very, very fine unawakened. Well, first off, number 6 is Gladiator, and Gladiator, man, there's too much to say about this champion. Rough start, kind of had like some justice afterwards, but he's back to just being very forgotten, and honestly, I wouldn't say he's trash, but he's not necessarily great either. He's kind of just there, and for the Summoner's Choice champion, I understand the disappointment from the players, right? But kind of obvious answer here, but is he worth targeting? No, because his dupe isn't really all that, and he's not really that good enough to be targeted in my opinion. He has access to Unblockable, Intimidate, Incinerate, Cold Snap, Vigilance, Physical Burst, Armor Up, Ability XP Reduction if he is awakened, and he also has True Damage, and yeah, he has a pretty decent kit, but he's just not the best at anything. He's fine for questing, for Battlegrounds, sometimes he's good, but really, he's kind of just there, and he's really not worth investing into in my opinion. So yeah, Gladiator, we'll see what happens with him. People want a buff. People say he's fine as is. I'm just like, you know what? Let's just see how it plays out, right? But number 5 is going to be Morbius. And Morbius is only this low because he is the most easily accessible 7-star in the game. And that 7-star version is more than enough to just be content with like not taking up the 6-star version. The 6-star has the Awakened ability, which gives him the Undying passive, but in his best situations, which is Battlegrounds, you don't want that in the first place really, and the only thing you want for Battlegrounds is that Rupture ability. But there are so many good science champions that even the bleed immune mystic characters have their counters, and it's not even Morbius. So unawakened, he is definitely fine. He has access to bleed, petrify, guaranteed crits, a miss, fervor, undying when he's duped, direct damage regen when he's duped, and rupture when he's duped. But yeah, he doesn't really need all those things. He is good for Battlegrounds, good for questing, and just good for Alliance War even sometimes. Just an overall good champion for sure, but him being a 7-star makes him one of the least favorable champions in this current featured crystal. Now, Kindred is a very, very strong defender, so if you want defense, he is definitely worth targeting. Yeah, that awakened ability is super important for him, especially whenever he is on defense, but also for questing as well. But he does want Mag Sig too, so that really does help the case for the 6-star version. He has access to Atrophy, which is good for Maestro. He has access to Poison and Incinerate immunity. He has access to Power Siphon, Regen, Degeneration, and Immortality when awakened. He's good for defense, he's good for questing as well, especially at that low health pool range. And he is good for Battlegrounds sometimes, but mainly for defense, and even Alliance War use, mainly against Maestro. So yeah, with Maestro being a thing, Kindred may see like a bump in value, but right now I feel like he is just a defender with some occasional use on attack. Now, Vox is a very interesting one. He doesn't want to be awakened that badly, but it is a very good help, and he is also very, very good overall, I feel like. On attack, he has access to Degen, he has access to 300% buff ability accuracy, which counters neutralize. He has access to undermine and vigilance, and also the rarest damage form in the game, which is degeneration. So yeah, he is pretty much good for a lot of fights because of that damage form, and he's good for battlegrounds, but not in this current meta for sure. He's good for questing, and he's good for long form content too, and that includes Necropolis. So yeah, this guy does have use in Necropolis, so if you want someone for Necropolis, Vox could be a decent option for it. He's good for incursions as well, and yeah, Vox, not a defender, not really like a super overpowered champion, but he's just a pretty good addition to the game, and he's not like a necessity for anything, so if you want, you can just wait for the 7-star version, but if you do like the champion, if you see a use for him right now, then yeah, he's a pretty good investment in my opinion. But yeah, Vox is number 3. Now hear me out with this one, because Werewolf by Night hasn't been talked about too much, right? But as of recently, this dude is making waves. He is such a powerful champion that he is easily number 2 on this list. Werewolf by Night is such a monstrous champion, especially in those Battlegrounds health pools, and he just shreds through so many fights. Buff heavy matchups he is unreal for, but not only buff heavy matchups, he is good for so many different hard defenders like Korg. I've seen him use for Maestro even. I've actually done that fight before and it goes pretty dang well. Even like the very non-mystic friendly matchups like Overseer I've done with him. Like, he is a very, very versatile champion, and that versatility is what makes him so strong and such a good Battlegrounds attacker. Is he worth targeting? I think he honestly is. He doesn't need the dupe, but he is a very, very valuable champion. So if you want to get him like ranked up early, because who knows when you'll pull the 7-star, I think it is a good idea to rank up this champion and ascend him even. So yeah, Werewolf by Night, just a very strong champion. He has access to Rupture, Unblockable, Unstoppable. He has access to some very good buff punishment on the SP2 as well, and he nullifies on the SP1. He has access to a ton of defensive value as well. So yeah, he is a great dual threat champion. So his best uses are Battlegrounds for sure. He is a great quester too. He's good for Alliance War defense. And yeah, this man is just such a strong champion. It's not because of like his defensive value, but it's because of his versatility in like Battlegrounds. He takes Korg very well. He takes like Spider-Man Supreme very well. He takes the weirdest matchups and he just does them very well. So yeah, great for buff heavy champs as well, but mainly good for just any kind of matchup. He's just that type of champion. So Werewolf by Night, number 2 for sure, but number 1 should be kind of obvious, and it is Photon. This champion is just absurd. I think she is in the running for champion of the year. She is so good, and is she worth targeting? 1000%. Her signature ability is very, very strong, and it does want max sig, so if you want a Photon and you don't want to wait, the 6-star is still a very, very good investment. She is super valuable as well. Obviously, she is one of the best defenders, one of the strongest attackers too, just an insane 2-way champion. The dupe is very, very strong. She has access to Petrify, Sunder, Taunt, Suppression, Overload, Energy Damage, and Vulnerability, Bleed immunity, Neutralize immunity whenever she is awakened, block efficiency and penetration as well, and she is just great for Battlegrounds, great for questing, one of the best Alliance War attackers right now. She's good for incursions too. She is just such a strong champion that is good pretty much everywhere in the game. So yeah, Photon I think is the obvious winner for like the best champion in this featured crystal. So yeah, this featured crystal is honestly pretty dang good. You have Werewolf by Night and Photon, who are the 2 best ones to get for sure. You have Kindred, who is a defensive monster. You have Morbius if you want the Awakened version. Gladiator isn't really all that, but he still can be kind of fun. Vox is good for long form content and like kind of good anywhere as well. So yeah, the feature crystal, pretty decent, but the main pools are Werewolf by Night, Kindred, and Photon in my opinion. So let me know your thoughts on this featured crystal, and yes, about it for me.